cheese on there. There are things about our economy, there are things about our society that are not working well, even for rich people. And if I'm hurting from it, then we know this isn't really working for anybody. When I discovered it, the first thing I did was I saw that there was a conference coming up, and I got myself there. And I started trying to get as connected with as many people as I possibly could. I came back and was immediately like, oh my God, I'm gonna contact everybody I went to private school with in elementary school and junior high, and oh my God, I'm gonna like organize the shit out of everybody. Resource Generation is a national network of young people with financial wealth and class privilege, and we're trying to figure out how to leverage it for racial and economic justice. I was born in Steamboat Springs, Colorado, which is a resort town. We lived in a custom-built home. We were the first kids in the neighborhood to have a trampoline and did traveling and things like that other friends didn't do. Holidays in my family were big gift-giving extravaganzas. I mean, the excess was kind of overwhelming to me. I remember at one point my father explicitly telling me and my brothers, like, don't talk about how much money I have. And I was like, whoa, what is that about? Yeah, 2005, Mac was like hitchhiking back and forth around the country and like riding her bike, then like not showering for a month and eating food out of the trash. Hitchhiking was super fantastic, but also this really strange, I mean, who am I to sit here and ask this person to give me a ride somewhere when my dad has a private plane? My dad was the man, and so how do I reconcile that? I was learning about systems of power and privilege and oppression, you know, like money talks, money is power, all these kinds of things. And I was really terrified that I was going to inherit all of that. All right, to the bike shop. Yeah, I fix bikes, so that can pay the bills and give me the energy to redistribute land, wealth, and power. There's an interesting dichotomy, which is there's bikes for transportation and then there's bikes for recreation. There's a pretty huge class divide right there, and it walks into the shop every day. And so we try and work with everybody. Open up that little valve and then screw the adapter on. I think the reason that I like bike mechanics, and part of why it stayed in my life so long, is that it's all fixable problems. And I can even fix it with a pile of trash. I don't even need like a commercial shop. It's super satisfying in that respect. The rest of the work I dedicate myself to is like ending wealth inequality, which is, I'm not going to say it's not a fixable problem, but it is super complicated and really hard. Fixing bikes with people is a great way to build community.
What goes out first?
It's about all of us bringing everything that we have to offer to the work of making the world a better place. Certainly not everybody thinking of joining Resource Generation is raging against the machine or raging against the man, but I sure was. My dad is the like straight white rich guy who's like has control over all of these resources. Resource Generation gave me the language to use to talk to him, because we would try and talk and it would just turn into screaming or slamming doors or hanging up the phone or whatever it was. I mean, it wasn't pretty. So we got to have conversations because of tools that I learned from Resource Generation. It was such a huge weight off of me, and also so many tools and skills and answers that I thought I would never have. Resource Generation has a special way of making space for kind of personal and interpersonal things, as well as these kind of bigger institutional and even global systems. I mean, I think it's something that there's space to kind of struggle with all of it. I stand to inherit money from my dad. I don't have assets in my name at this time, but my dad offered to help me buy property. So that started a conversation about what would it look like for me to share my access to family money with my community or with my friends. What would that look like? And so several years later, my dad helped finance the purchase of this house. Because he had offered to buy property for me, that's something that I can actually tangibly share, to share my access to wealth. And hopefully by extension can, you know, share it with our neighbors and kind of like extended community as well. Sleep Tight is my community house where I've been living for 7 years. It's a tight-knit community of friends. We share resources and share a lot of our lives. It's kind of like roommates, but also a little bit like a chosen family. I mean, we can plant this huge garden, but I only have to weed it like once a week, if that. And I still get to eat out of it every day. I think more and more people, organizations, and universities and other institutions are talking about class. So as everybody's having these conversations, people from all class backgrounds, figuring out how do we work together, how do we really use the strengths that each of us has, and how do we combine all of that to end classism.